Hey guys, we're getting started tonight here. We're going to be going over sort of a piece of the sequence from the Intro to Thigh Massage workbook. It's kind of like the leg sequence, including the stuff on the hamstrings. So I'm going to show you how to use your legs and feet on the person you're working on. And we're trying to get Kristen to turn off the audio on her stream of our stream, inside a stream.
Like, oh my God, what's happening?
But it sounded great. The audio was clear. It was
Well, it's working.
So I'll just go over some of the anatomy real quick. Like, we're gonna get into the gluteals. Just a quick review. And then the stuff that we're doing with the hip and the pelvis is gonna influence the lumbar spine and particularly low back pain. So some people are kind of confused, like, I don't understand, like my low back hurts, why aren't you working on my low back? And I'm like, I use your legs as a handle to access your low back pain, and low back muscles. I'm using the leg as a handle to reach down into your hips and pelvis and address some of the root causes of that low back pain. And I dare say, it is why sometimes your massage therapist is not addressing low back pain effectively, because you're not letting them work on your legs. I've heard therapists complain about it in massage forums sometimes. So really good work. Anybody can learn to do this. Again, right back into the hamstrings. And I think what I want to do just to soften Kristen up is start just on the gluteals themselves. You'll see me do this move again and again and again. Go ahead and lay on your back for me. And we're gonna have like a trade, so it's 30 minutes give and receive with your partner. You know, the way this is designed is you work with us. So we want you to partner up, throw down a sleeping bag, or if you have a mat, use one. And you're gonna come in and work on your partner while we're working. And Kristen is super sore because she does this thing called working out. And I keep telling her it's gonna shorten her lifespan. I don't know why she wants to do that. Like, ew, work out. That's like get up early. Who wants to do that?
I did that too.
I've designed my whole life so I don't have to work out or get up early. That's nothing fun about that at all. So you'll see that my foot, like I'm reaching down and around. Maybe you can see it again from another angle. As I'm doing this, I've done this so many times, it looks like super easy, right? But as I'm going through, it's like my foot is turned to the side and I'm reaching down and kind of scooping into gluteal muscle, particularly gluteus medius, right there on the right side in the green. That guy is on the side and I'm trying to like reach down and grab. You'll see that my foot is down and it's like I grab tissue and then lift up. It starts to turn her pelvis. And once I get myself in position, I could usually just use my monstrously white calves to move her around.
I'm sorry, that's ridiculous.
You gotta have a sense of humor. You don't want to shine too bright a light on me because it'll reflect and blind you. Right in there. That's why I can't work with Kristen. She makes me look, you know, tanned, pale in comparison.
Yeah.
So her leg just kind of moves around. What this does is it gets this whole leg to just let go. A lot of people find this in particular to be really good for low back pain. It's one of the first things I do with people who tell me they have low back pain. Very common for me to use this almost immediately. Is it killing you, Kristen?
No, it feels great.
She's like, no, I am not dying.
I love it. I live long.
And then with my foot here, I was a little lower, like I was definitely pressing into flesh, definitely pressing into tissue, but there's a little more room along her sacrum. I want to lift my foot just a little bit higher up towards her head and reach back again. There we go. So it's kind of like I found a new spot. If you had a big section of muscle, like along Gluteus Maximus, it was like I was going up the sacrum to another spot where the tissue still felt dense, so I could reach in there and work on that area, right in there. As you do this, just communicate with your partner. Ask them, it's totally fine if they say it's too sharp, you try to broaden it. You try to use a broad structure, a broad foot, instead of something sharp and pointy. And then I'm gonna switch, hopping up, going to the other side. This also gives me practice on being ambidextrous and using each side of my body just about equally. I'm gonna, again, you'll see my foot's to the side. I'm gonna reach down and up. How's that in there?
Good.
Good, okay. I can scoot my keister in if I need to. How's that? In my case, usually I can get my leg straight, and this usually feels the best to me, to be able to have my leg out straight, just so I can use my calf to be able to move her there. This softened pretty rapidly, so I'm gonna scoot in and like find just a slightly different spot, a little closer to her sacrum, and that was a little tighter. As I was reaching into those gluteal muscles, you look at Gluteus Maximus, you see that V in the center of the sacrum? That's the edge that I'm going and pressing into. I'm really working all of that tissue right around the sacrum. Even though this looks like it's just from the side, any of the tissue around the greater trochanter, it's like the bony knob on the hip, anything that's fleshy around it is like gold. There's nothing bad about receiving gluteal work this way. A lot of people need it. Even if somebody doesn't have low back pain, but they sit in an office chair all day, tons of like limited mobility through this area. I'm gonna put her down again, reach back and over. This is almost at her tailbone. I can feel the ball pad of my foot pressing right at the lower portion of that V, right on that right side. She's even making noise. She's getting an abrasion on the bottom of her foot because it's flopping back and forth on the sheet. If you had like an accordion structure and something on her foot, you could make, you know, music like this in your session if you really wanted to. You got to have a sense of humor, keep it live. So what I'm going to do is come around. We kind of just soften both sides real fast. Like, how does that feel, Kristen?
Good.
Good. Are you having more problems with one leg or the other?
No.
Okay. And I checked with her just because of working out. Because she's been doing that recently, there's been like a little more nuance in our sessions and trades. Yeah. So I'm just going to pick her right leg. Most of you are right-handed, and I'm here to tell you that most of you are right-legged. You are right dominant. I see this again and again. I'm left-handed. I'm the total opposite. But I'm going to start with her right leg. And what I'm going to do is bring her up like this. And I'm going to come and sit, in my case, just about where her ankle is. Now, what I want to be able to do, and I might be able to show this from another angle, is I want to lift her leg up like this, okay? I want to be able to lift her up to 90 degrees. Now, the issue is, if I take my foot like this, you see how my toes are, it's like she still wants to fall open. The way that I prevent that is I turn my toes to the outside. My toes are over there. So now what's happened is I've got essentially a straight line from her ankle, knee, hip, shoulder. My pelvis is facing ankle, knee, hip, shoulder. One line. And from the side, what that looks like is I bring her just past 90 degrees. Just past. Do you see how her knee, it doesn't come straight up. It's not there. It's a little bit past. My leg is completely lengthened. I'm not just pushing my foot into the hamstrings, I'm pulling her into my foot. So when I lean forward, I'm holding around the ankle. Let's get that grip from a different angle. So I'm getting a good grip. Doesn't matter if it's like this, doesn't matter if it's like that. Again, doesn't matter if it's like this, doesn't matter if it's like that. You get the one that feels comfortable for you, and I'm gonna lean back and pull her onto my foot. She gave me a breath because she's like, please, no hard. I know you get frustrated, Robert, but just don't take it out on me. I haven't done anything wrong. I know you're dark and depressing and little 8 hours a day while thinking about smoking opium, but Robert, you gotta relax, bro, really. How's that? So here's the thing. She's sore. I didn't put much pressure on. How does it feel, Kristen?
Very intense.
Very intense. Now, even though I've got a big, broad arch all across her hamstring, right? It fits all the way across. I'm not pressing sharp, but it feels exceedingly deep because I'm using body mechanics to pull her into my foot. Now I'm going to disengage. I'm going to move my foot just an inch or so down, and I'm going to do it again. And this is probably a little bit easier, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the muscles thicken as you go down towards the hip. Pretty good there?
Yeah.
And I get like a nice little calf stretch, nice little hamstring stretch, because I'm leaning back, pulling her into my foot. You see how she's going past 90 degrees, and then I pull her to 90? Yeah. Is that too much? Feels good now.
Yeah.
Okay. So the muscle tapers. If I was going to put pressure like around your knee, but if I go up higher into bigger, broader muscle, a little easier to receive. I think that's essentially what we've got going on. So I'm only going to go about halfway, because if I go low, it's like I start to lose traction. It's like starts to shift where the hip is. What I am going to do is, you see how my toes are the outside? I'm going to turn them in so they're essentially right under the knee. Right under the knee. And I'm going to let her leg roll open. Now what happens here, hopefully, is their shin is going to cross yours. Her foot is going to wrap behind. So I got this nice little handle here, right? You can see where my foot is. You can see her shin is crossing mine. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift where my keister is, okay? Because I want to be able to press perpendicular into her hamstring, right in there. So this is what happened. I scooted my body over. I've got this big open section of real estate right here in the hamstring. I'm going to hold around the heel, and then this leg's going to do the work. How's that? Now, as I do this, I want you to notice I am pressing in the hamstrings, and you can switch hands, by the way. You see me do that? When I do this, do you see this leg moving? The clients think I'm just working on their hamstrings, but I'm mobilizing their pelvis, lengthening their adductors, mobilizing their hips, mobilizing their lumbar spine, because I'm working on their low back using the legs as a handle. You can see big, broad foot. Big, broad foot in the hamstrings. Big, broad foot in the hamstrings. This is easier to receive, right? Because they don't have full body weight leaning back. That's much more like robust, right? But after we've done that, then what we can do is we can take a heel. Now this is mean, so be gentle at first. It's like you're going to cut the hamstring in half, right along biceps femoris. So look at biceps femoris. Do you see the split on the right-hand side with semimembranosus, semitendinosus, like the blue and the red, where biceps femoris? Yep. So it's like you're splitting straight down the center, right along the hamstrings. You don't have to get so much worried about, is it semimembranosus, is it semitendinosus, is it biceps femoris? Everybody's position's going to be a little bit different. Their muscular development will be a little bit different. Is that too much, Kristen?
Nope.
Now, from here, do you see how? See? That's all I had to do. I was going to overwhelm Kristen. I did this. And she's like, stop, you're killing me. I'm dying. Why are you such a mean educator? I don't know, it's just been years of practice, just years of practice. So I back off a little bit. I'm going to switch hands.
Much better.
There we go. So when I'm using my heel, just like an elbow, guys, you know how somebody can use a broad elbow? Oh, that's good. But then they use that pointy-ass elbow, and you're like, hey, hey, hey.
Hey.
The same thing will happen with your heel. Is it a broad heel? This is broad. How's that?
Great.
Now, how's the sharp?
Don't do it to me.
See?
I don't want it.
And all the shift, okay, I'm not going to do it. All the shift is big, broad heel to that.
Yeah.
Look at this. Big, broad heel to that. Look at how subtle. Big, broad heel to that.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to back off. Big, broad foot again. Big, broad foot. Big, broad foot. Big. I think mostly the teaching was just like a platform for stand-up, because I wasn't a very good stand-up comedian, but you could like roll the jokes in with education and get away with it. I think that's what it was. That's what it was. So where I'm grabbing here, not too much?
No.
Okay. So from here to access her hips and her lumbar spine and her gluteals, I was teasing her before we went into session here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to unhook my leg, and I'm going to walk in. I'm gonna walk her right into my holster, right in here. Because now I can mobilize her hip just using my hips. How's that?
Good.
Good. Now, if I want to isolate, because you're going to see this, you see how this leg comes along for the ride? If I want to isolate, what happens if I anchor here and then lean in?
Whee.
Are you dead?
Ay, not yet. Holy moly.
I'm not dead yet.
Ay.
I'm not dead yet.
Oh,
So, is it too much pressure on the hand,
no.
or is it the hips?
No, I mean.
Or
yeah,
the combination?
it's-
Okay. So the reason I ask that, there's multiple things going on. I'm using her hips as a handle to get into there. Mobilizing her sacrum, mobilizing her pelvis, mobilizing her lumbar spine, opening some of that up, getting into gluteal muscles, particularly gluteus maximus. Here in a minute, you'll see this. And I'm using that to mobilize through the lumbar spine. Affects all of these structures. It looks inordinately simple from the outside, but the way it feels, I think, can be vastly different. What's going to happen here is I'm going to take her out of my holster, and I'm going to bring her up and over into a big circle. Come around. Big circle. How's that? Mm-hmm. So, if you're working with somebody like Kristen, and they're like, oh my God, can you be nice to me? Jeez, whew, I'm dying. What are you doing? Mobilization, back off of the compression. If they have chronic pain, typically you kind of go the other way. You're going to lean a little bit more towards compression, just generally speaking. So I'm going to bring her up and over. Now, when I go knee to opposite shoulder, that's a big gluteal stretch. That's a big stretch to gluteus maximus, Sir Mix-a-Lot's favorite muscle. Come on up and over. Now, I'm going to anchor knee to opposite shoulder. Anchor knee to opposite shoulder, and then add the hamstring stretch. We compressed the hamstrings before, now we're lengthening them. Now, this is affecting her lumbar spine because of the way we're rolling her over. She likes this. She relaxed on me.
Yeah.
And then with the leg bent, I'm just going to roll her over, kind of a deep twist through the lumbar spine there. And then slowly help her unravel. Now I'm just going to switch legs. Quick leg sequence. That leg sequence is no different than what's an intro tie. The only move that's different is the one from the side at the beginning, that first one they show. So from here, again, I'm going to lift her leg up. I'm going to bring her to just past 90 degrees. She feels stiff on this side, especially compared to this one.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit my keister down, and generally speaking, ankle, knee, hip, and shoulder, one line. Leg is just going to be past 90 degrees. So I'm going to bring her just past 90, see if my leg is in the right position. If I wasn't close enough, I might have to scoot my keister forward. If I'm real tall and I got long legs, I might have to scoot it back. You're going to have to make little customizations based on the other person's body. So from here, I've got a good broad arch pressure into the hamstrings, and then slowly I'm going to get a grip here, and I'm going to lean back and pull her into me. Not too much, Kristen?
Now I can strangely handle it way better on this side.
And it may be sore on the other. So again, my leg is lengthened. I'm pulling her into my foot. I'm leaning back, pulling her into my foot. Leaning back, pulling her into my foot.
Oh, hello.
So, because from the outside, it's like, yeah, big deal. How's it feel? Oh, holy moly. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. It's not really over until it's like gospel hour, until they're calling out to the good Lord. That's when the sessions get good. Right there. And I'm just going to go about halfway, just about 50%. You may be able to see it better from this angle, just about half of the hamstring. Now you can see my toes are facing out. I'm going to put my toes kind of underneath the knee and let the leg roll open. I'm going to have her shin cross mine. And our leg length works. If you have a little bit of a discrepancy and you have to do something like this, totally fine. You see how she's resting in my hand? Totally fine if you got to do this. But if they can go like that, that's usually a little bit better. Now, when I've done this, I'm a little bit at an angle. My angle would be like I'm kind of pressing sideways to the line. I want to scoot my keister out just a little bit because I want to press perpendicular, a T. That's the most oomph with the least amount of effort. So I've got a good hand grip here, and then I'm big, broad arch, gonna press into the hamstring. And look at this leg move. Look at this stuff mobilize. She's covering up because she's trying to run away. Is it too much?
No.
Just tender.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of.
Do, do, do. The hills are alive with the sound of little peep. Do, 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 do. Big and broad pressure. Do, 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 do. Big, broad foot. Big, broad arch. Look at it. You could see it. It's wrapped around. Semimembranosus, semitendinosus, biceps femoris. Big, broad pressure. They're also getting some length to the adductors just because of the position of the hip and the way that it's rolled open. But I did this several times along the length of the hamstrings just to be able to soften this first. General to specific, superficial to deep, typically, is the way that we work. As you work with the receiver, if they say it's too much, we just back off. It's totally easy. We use a lot more rocking, a lot more mobilization if they can't take pressure. Now, center of the hamstring with the heel.
Oh.
And I'm checking her ibrometer to see if it goes off,
Yeah.
to see if she begins cursing me or giving me some evil side eye. Now, the problem is too, now if you're mean to the person you give it to, they're gonna give it back to you, twofold. Right in the hamstring, right there. Not too much.
No.
Now I chilled out for a second. So this leg is like locked out, so to speak. It's lengthened, and then I just rocked with this other leg.
It's nice.
But she likes rocking, yeah.
I like rocking.
Yeah. And I go just a little bit higher. Ooh, right in the hamstrings. Ooh, right in the hamstrings. Ooh. Right in there. I think I'll get one more, just a little bit higher. Yeah. Right in there. And on the back off, big, broad, gremlins, nice. So was gremlins like a general term before the Gremlins film?
No.
And then like, it wasn't, was it actually,
I don't know.
was it actually like a word? That's what I wonder. Was it like a word before the Gremlins film? I don't know that.
Let's look at that.
Do, 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 do. The hills are alive with the sound of little peep. Sing along with me. So from here, I'm gonna go ahead and like unlock, like take my leg out. Now I've done this so many times, I don't have to think about it, but in my case, I'm gonna drop the inner knee and I'm gonna put it right into my holster, right in here, totally hands-free. The reason this is nice is I'm using body weight to be able to save my hands. I can work on really huge clients. They can be 300 plus pounds to me, and I can still manhandle them. How's that? She's like, I'm dying. What are you doing? I'm gonna take her out of my holster, up and over. Not too much?
Nope.
Just tender?
Yeah, it was just like, yeah.
Big circle,
Just tight.
up and over. And again, big circle, up and over. And if I feel like I need more, isolation, okay? If I put her back in my holster and go, well, how's knee to generally same shoulder? Get too much here?
No.
Just tender.
I'm just really tight.
Yeah. Big and broad. Yeah, if you're mean to them, they're going to be mean right back to you.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good way to work out couples stuff.
Like, sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
realize how much pressure that was.
If you have a challenging husband, this is a way of getting back at him and vice versa. How's that?
Good.
There we go. So if you need to back off, you mobilize a bit more. You don't use a compression that's quite as deep. And again, kind of knee to opposite shoulder is where you get that gluteus maximus stretch. It's also deeply piriformis. Right in there. And I'm going to show that from this angle because you can see where hip lifts. You see how much her bottom lifts when I go over like that? We're mobilizing the pelvis. And I'm going to go in for the shot put. Whoop. And they come up and over, knees bent, and then shot put. Get some stretch to the hamstrings. How's that?
Good.
Stretch to the hamstrings. Whoo. You dying?
No, I'm good.
So repeated movement. So here's the thing. If I took her leg, put her in, and then was like, stretch, breathe, stretch, breathe, they don't release. If I go in and do it in pieces, so the knee is bent, and then I kind of bring her to her comfortable end range and then back off, the second and third pass can go a little bit more deeply, usually. It gives them a chance to have their nervous system go, oh, this is safe, this is okay. Range of motion. There you go. And then slowly roll her up and over. Big twist. And again. Up and over. Big twist. You dying there?
I'm just tight.
Does it feel good?
Yes.
When I roll you over, what do you feel mainly?
Just tightness all.
Just tightness?
My gluteus.
Your gluteus?
And my, I feel like my adductors and stuff are like, they've just been really tight on that side for this entire week.
So,
We did a bunch of kettlebell swings.
I started with this. Kettlebell swings, what's that? I have no idea, I've never done it. Have no desire to do it.
That's what
Don't
it
want to
is.
know about it. We're doing your YouTube research on it.
Yeah, that's why I'm hurting.
We started with this. I went back to it. Do this all the time. Sometimes this move in particular is almost like, I don't know, what am I going to do next? And I'll sit down and do this so I have like a breather. This is like me having tea. So I can sit down and have my tea or coffee, think about what I'm doing in session, like what am I going to do next? It also gives me a chance to see, is it radically different from the first time we did this? Has it changed substantially? Does the tissue feel more open? And it does to me. Big, strong calves doing this. You can see from this angle, it's not so much my quad. There's a little bit of leg movement, but most of it is coming from the calf in my case. Very slowly, gonna switch out again. Go to the opposite side. Sometimes students will tell me that the work feels kind of choppy. Like it doesn't feel fluid the way their Swedish sequence does. Usually I think that's because we're showing them how to use their body in a different way, and it takes a little time to develop a smooth flow or transition. But did the clients ever complain about that?
No, it feels great.
What did the clients say?
It feels so much better.
Yeah, like I
Feel
never,
lighter.
yeah,
I feel longer.
I think it's a thing about a musician. A musician can play a show and the fans rave about it. They're like, that's the best show ever. But if you ask the musician, they're like, it was all right.
Yeah.
Because they didn't feel it.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's like, it's more important that the audience, or in this case, the client,
Yeah.
the person you're working on, the receiver, feels like you paid attention to them, communicated with them, did
Yeah.
good work. So again, I'm going to scoot up just a little bit, reach in again, right in there. You dying?
No, it's good.
You're dying, Kristen?
I would never.
She would never die. Ooh. Ooh. Can reach in again, a little bit higher. Ooh, right in there. There we go. And again, right into the gluteals. Primarily gluteus maximus. Gluteus maximus is the more superficial muscle. Gluteus medius is a little more out to the side. That's why I included that in what we were working. But I'm really using the leg in this whole sequence to access deep into the pelvis, deep into the hip, rolling through the acetabulum, means little vinegar cup, by the way, in Latin, to mobilize the lumbar spine to access stuff related to low back pain. So when we're pressing through there, you've got your quadratus lumborum, that's a cutout. You've got the psoas wrapped around on either side, provides a lot of lumbar support and stability. Combination of the two together. And then all those muscles along the back. One of the interesting things is I've got somebody on their back and I'm saying I'm working on their back. That's the rotatores. What that is for me is I'm accessing all those things related to the lumbar spine, but I'm doing it again. How? By accessing the legs as a handle to mobilize things through the pelvis. It doesn't make sense to people at first. Usually what I have to do as a therapist is just say, listen, give me 5 minutes. And I can do 2 of those moves and they're like, oh my God, my low back pain feels better. And it's like,
Better, yeah.
then they'll allow me to continue working. For a normal massage session, the client will come in and expect to take their clothes off, lay down face first on a table so that you can press on their back. The problem is, I don't think that's where the problem's really coming from.
Yeah.
I think it's coming from the stuff that we just worked on. Now, if you wanted to transition and go ahead and go to a table, this would be a great time to work on the paraspinal musculature, but it's because you've softened the stuff below that was leading to the posture above. So we're going to take just a quick break so we can switch out and trade. We've got a quick bathroom break. We'll see you guys in just a minute.
All right, guys, we are back. Let's get our partners on the mat and get going face up. Oi, you know if I put this over here?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
All right, let's see, we'll put it on this bad boy. All right, so we're gonna come, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and start at the feet. I just wanna give a little traction first before coming straight into the glutes. You know, I'm also gonna take this ring off. I just don't want to pinch my friend, even though he was a little mean. I'm gonna be nice.
I'm so nice.
Just gonna give a little traction. Let's see which one. Give it a better view of this. Here we go. Just a little traction. Oh, lean in. I use the top of my shoulder here on his toes to give just a little stretch. Look over here to the side. I'm gonna loop in with my left foot. Let's go ahead and switch camera angles. So you can see how I lift up. You see how everything's mobilizing?
Little peep shaking his head no.
Saying no. This took me a long time to get this down, so if you're getting a little frustrated with finding placement or how it's feeling on your foot, just know it's taken me a long time to really feel good in it. With some clients, it feels a little easier to find. For others, it's just a little different. So be patient with yourself as you're doing this work. Go ahead and loop in, get a little higher. My foot was getting a little tired. I've been doing way too much working out, so I'm gonna kind of listen to your body. If you have that happen where you start to feel a little tired, take a little break for a second. I'm doing a little compression here at the top of his hip. My left foot is bringing his leg towards me a little bit, just to create a little traction. I'm gonna come back in and do a little more. I just need to give my foot just a little break because it was cramping. I like to come down to the feet. Put this on. And we will bend the leg up. I did that the least smooth way I could. Let me come and show you again. I'm like, what am I doing here? I'm like, I've never even done it this way. So I go ahead and I pick his leg up. And I hook it in. I have his knee. I'm gonna go ahead and I am not as good with the with the angle, so bear with me. So I go ahead and I bring his knee past 90 degree and lean back.
Oh man, that feels so good.
As I'm leaning back, I'm doing a little myofascial on the back of his foot, across his heel. Bring it towards, find a new spot, lean back. I'll give you a little better angle there so you can see where my foot is, leaning back. Sometimes you might have a client that their ankle is a little loose or maybe it's uncomfortable. So just change up your grip for what feels good for them and good for you as well. You can see my hand slowly sliding down. I'm going to turn my toes, bring his leg out, and hook it on to my leg. I come in with the compression. How's that pressure?
Good.
I always just check in. If it seems like it might be intense, I can feel dense tissue under my foot. Just check in and see if everything's feeling good for your friend, your client, receiver. Just warming the tissue up right now. Big, broad foot, using the arch of my foot. One of the biggest questions I get asked is, how long do you hold, or how do you know how long to hold? And you really, I think you get your best idea of that from receiving this work, so you can understand what it feels like. But for every client, it's a little different. So I feel like I've warmed this area up enough. I'm going to come in with the heel, right in between the muscles. How's that, Robert?
I mean, I can feel the line running out towards my knee.
Yeah. With this, once you bust out a sharp tool, I definitely move a little slower. It takes a minute for the body to accept it being there. Then the body will start to release. But I definitely move a little bit slower when I have a more precise, sharp tool. I just keep moving down the leg towards the knee. After this point, I like to grab by the heel. One movement, just stand up. That wasn't as smooth. Let me try that one more time. How was that? Why am I so awkward today, Robert? All right, so we're here. Oh, there we go. All right, not quite as smooth as Robert.
Also, my hips are not normal. Most men are not going to be able to have their hips respond this way, but I've been doing yoga and Thai massage for years, so my hips and pelvis, like muscular wise, are like way more open than a lot of guys. When you get to the hamstring stretch, if you take someone from 90 degrees to that's their stretch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you come in, you can just do some palm compressions. There we go. Just being aware that this is pretty intense. Come back and isolate. So then in one move, I turn. Let me switch camera angles here. Show that one more time. We were here. I turn. All right, and he's resting here on my leg. So at this point, we go ahead and bring the leg up towards and do a big circle. And as I'm bringing the knee across, I'm leaning forward on my left knee so that I'm not reaching out without following, you know, and putting my low back. I follow with it. I also have short arms, so maybe someone with longer arms won't have to do that, but that's what I have to do so that I keep my back in good shape. So with Robert, I know he had, oh, we did the stretch. Yeah, let me go ahead and do that stretch. We come across the opposite side, and we shock put the foot. Shock put the foot. Compression with the right hand into the hamstring, opposite shoulder. Shock put the foot. One of my favorite things though is a little compression to the hip. So at this point where I have Robert's leg here, I just step through and just do a little pressing. Just say hello.
Payback.
You bring the leg back and down. Let's come back and give a little length again. And switch sides, come to the opposite side. Hook your right foot underneath. Whoop, you might have to wiggle a little bit to get it out. Left foot, we go ahead, let me see. Perfect. We'll go ahead and hook underneath and lift up.
I love the sound effect.
I can't help it. I have to give sound effects. That's just a bonus of
Sounds as communication.
yeah.
Cracks me. Sonny will be like, it went doop 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 doop. And I'm like, what did it do? Doop, 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 doop.
I am here for entertainment.
I love that.
So sometimes you'll have your like receiver might be kind of this movement might seem weird to them. They might try to like control their leg. And so if that happens, my right foot will kind of give a gentle nudge back to kind of show them, hey, this is fine. We're just kind of, we're flopping around here as we're softening the glutes.
Do you have a lot of clients who won't let go?
Yes. Not a lot, but I have more than I'd wish, you know.
When students ask me what I do, I always rock the client.
Yeah, if they're holding on, you rock.
I rock them more. They don't know I'm doing it. I don't say anything about it.
You're rocking them to let
I
go.
just rock them more to let them go. Oh, okay. Yeah, just relax.
And here we are again. I am being a wimp today. I'm just cramped up from the workout, not enough water. So my foot was saying, nah, take a break. So I'm coming in, just giving it a gentle compression. He has no idea that I'm resting, besides the fact that I just said it. He would have no clue.
I want my money back.
That's what I'm doing right now. Come in and give him a little more softening as I'm flopping. One thing I always want to bring attention to is that the top of your foot is bony. That is right. Feel your bone. But if you have a very bony foot, some of us are bonier than others, do be aware that these feet, if I might have to turn it more sideways if my receiver is saying that my bone is stabbing them. You also do need to be aware about underneath the knee. Just make sure you're not anywhere compromising area. So I feel like we're good and soft. I'm gonna slide out. Let's see if I can do this side a little smoother. You'd think it was my first time.
Oh, it's abbreviated too.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to do it in your flow rather than my flow. All right, so we're here with Robert. I go ahead and I just, all right? I literally cannot do it without a sound effect, people. You go for it. I think it's better with one. So I've got my foot right around his knee, right? And I just, whoop, into place, new one. And so do you notice how I realize, oh, I'm just too far away? So I just scoot my bottom a little closer.
There you go.
Bring the leg past 90 and lean back. How's that pressure?
Awesome. This is great.
You can see now I've gripped his foot a little differently. Let me change this view. You can cut, yeah. So I was holding his foot kind of like this, to where at the same time that I'm working his hamstring, I'm also sliding down the back of his foot, doing a little myofascial. My thumb is working the bottom of his foot as well. That, my friend, is the beautiful part about Thai massage, is how many different points we can work at the same time. Taking our receiver, just giving them complete bliss. And that is when you fall in. Feels so good, I cannot stay awake.
It's when Robert shuts up.
Mm-hmm. Find a new spot. Once again, we're going about halfway. And see, I'm about at that part where it's just kind of like, what's happening here? So I'm gonna do one more good pull here. And then I'm gonna flip my toes. And open. Hook his toes in here. And sometimes you still might need to adjust your bottom a little bit. Between you and the receiver, the way your bodies fit will always be different. So just keep that in mind, that you just have to make a little bit of changes. No big deal. So I have my leg completely straightened. How's the pressure, Robert?
Good.
I'm looking at his eyes and they are wide open. He is alive. If your arms get tired of leaning back, you can always sit up, kind of hold the foot. Switch hands, kind of use it as a handle if you don't feel like leaning back on your wrist, or you just feel like, honestly, this feels like it's maybe a little bit more of an intense compression now that I've sat up and I'm pulling on the foot like this. Slightly more. Scoop my bottom towards him just slightly. And I have learned how to make my little scoots slowly as I work. Those are just things that you kind of iron out as you do this work over and over. All right, let's see if I can be smooth this time. But first, we'll come in just a little bit more.
The good thing is the clients don't know. They don't know what it's supposed to be like anyway.
Yep, no idea. So I'm like, all right, Robert feels like he's softened up. We'll go ahead and come in with our heel, right in between the muscles. I'm gonna scoot back a little bit because I did scoot up on him. I'm kind of hooking under between.
Yeah, and again, it runs straight up behind my knee. Like you're pressing there, but I feel that line.
I like to slowly back out. We did just go general to specific, but we always want to slowly come out, just as like you like to slowly lean in. Abrupt moves, especially when you're using a sharp tool, are hard to receive and hard to relax in if you're not going slow in and out. And as I'm pushing in, I can feel myself kind of torquing with my hips. You can't even see on the screen the movement because it's so slight. I literally just sit like this and just kind of push a little more with that hip. I just feel like I need a little bit more oomph, you know? That's the thing about the video and you guys sitting down and giving and receiving this, to actually be able to feel and then, you know, be able to give these slight moves that you can barely see with the eye. To understand that will make understanding all the rest of the work so much more, I think it'll make it more clear to you how specific it can be and how slight and small the movements can be, which feel huge when you're receiving. All right, so here we are. I am going to, whoop-ah, there we are. That was smooth, huh? So just gonna lean in. You see how the back foot is following me. Just do a little hands-free leaning. Like the last time, you can come in and just give some compressions, big broad compressions. I'm gonna get my little pad here. Put this back on my arm. Better video there. We'll come in and just kind of lean between the two. Just being very aware that this can be pretty intense. Just go slow, be intentional with where you place your palms. All right, this we're gonna go ahead and switch it over, right? Big circles.
My back feels better.
Big pop there for Robert. Got a nice natural adjustment. Let me show, there we go. Show how I'm leaning. We'll do a little hamstring stretch, shock put, bring the knee to the opposite shoulder, shock put the foot. Knee, shock put the foot. Like Art said, everyone is different with how flexible they are, how much they can get done. We meet our receiver where they are. We don't try to force them past their limits. So like I said, I like to come back to a little circle. I like to bring across. We bring to camera one. All right. So we're here, right? I just did a big circle. I use my right hand just to kind of hold in place, step my right foot through, and then I do some palm. Let me switch to camera. Here we go. Palm to the hip. Oh, this is so nice. Just a nice hello. And when you're done, without kicking your partner, you bring the leg back through. You know. I know I'm big about tractioning. I love to give length. So I might give a little foot compression, say goodbye. I hope your legs and glutes feel a little better, your hips, your lumbar muscles. I hope they're all feeling pretty good. If you guys ever have any questions, we don't answer or respond live, but feel free. Let us know, have you watched this live? Are you rewatching it? And one thing I'm really curious of, where are you from? I'm curious where we are reaching. But if you ever have any questions, leave them below, on the video and we can get back to you. But thank you so much for watching with us today and Ty jamming it up with us.
Yeah. So we'll see you guys again soon. We're trying to keep a fairly consistent schedule. It'll, change a little bit over time, but we think that this time is probably the best for our US viewers.
Yeah.
If you want to go back through any of the videos, I'll add this to a playlist for the Thai Massage Jam here on the channel. So you can go through and watch any of the previous episodes and cover something new. Each time we have a jam, we'll take like a slightly different focus, some slightly different anatomy, and just keep working with you in an interactive way. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you again real soon.
Awesome. Bye guys. Thank you.